Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's episode is all about NATASHA DENONA's brand new gold palette. I was super excited for this release. I feel like the releases are really coming fast and loose and I can barely keep up, but this one really caught my eye. I am a huge fan of gold anywhere, lips, eyes, cheeks, fingers, wherever. I just love gold. So when she announced this palette, I was like, yes, I'm all over it. I'm also very excited to be doing this particular video because this is another collab with Natalie over at Flower Bomb 31. We just had so much fun collabing with the first video that we did together, which was the first 10 products we would run out and buy if all of our skincare disappeared. And we just had fun and we kept chatting with each other after we had finished that, and we knew that the other was going to be purchasing this palette, so we were like, let's collab with the gold palette. So what Natalie is going to be doing over on her channel, and I will link to her channel and her video down below in my description box, but she's going to be focusing on the blue colors and doing like a blue gold look, and I'm going to be focusing more on the brown colors over here and doing more of like a nude goldy look. But we both decided that yes, we were going to talk about the palettes and how we felt about the palette and the formula and do swatches, all that kind of stuff. But usually when I do an eyeshadow palette review, I will simply just show you like the demo for the eyeshadow portion, but we're going to do like a full face. So if you're interested in seeing me basically get ready featuring this palette using like the brown tones in here, then just keep on watching. All right, so I realized I'm doing this video. Sometimes I'll do like a full face and then I'll like start the video, I'll do the intro so that I'm talking to you with like a full face of makeup on, but I'm not doing that this time. I don't know why. So you're gonna see me barefaced for most of this video, I guess, until we get into the demo portion. Anyway, I'm just gonna talk about this palette a little bit before I start putting on my makeup. So this is the box that it came in, which is really cool. It's like a matte black with gold lettering on there, and then the inside has like gold lining, which is really cool. And then here is the gold palette. The packaging of this gold palette is similar to the Sunset and the Lila palette. So it is in that like kind of faux leather exterior, and it has that kind of foamy interior that all the pans sit in. The Tropic and the Safari palettes were like in the hard plastic where you could pop out the pans easily and had the names of all of the shadows actually on the palette inside. So we're going back to where we left off, I guess, with the Lila palette. This, I believe, is a permanent palette. This is not limited edition. So this is part of her holiday collection. There are 15 shades in here. There's 3 rows of 5. There are, I think, like 5 different formulations in here, and I will talk through them when I show you the swatches. So this palette is available on the NATASHA DENONA site. It's also available on Beautylish. However, I think it's sold out on Beautylish very quickly, and they're restocking, I believe, starting the 17th of October, which is in a couple weeks. And Sephora is also carrying this. So I actually purchased this off of Sephora. I missed it on Beautylish, but Sephora was great. Got it in 2 days. It was packaged really nicely. And I've been able to play with this palette now twice. I've put together like 2 different eye looks, just sort of trying to test out as many of the different formulas as possible. I find this palette to be very similar to her Lila and her Sunset palette, and not just because of its physical appearance with this packaging. The finishes, like all the different types of finishes in here, I think are just, I don't know, they're just reminiscent of those 2 palettes to me. Like the Tropic palette was basically all mattes, the first 2 rows, and then the Safari palette obviously is all mattes. So I feel like NATASHA DENONA is kind of getting back to her previous or her older 15 pan palettes with this release. So before I talk any further about this palette, let's go ahead and just do the swatches. I swatched these ahead of time, and so what I did was I swatched across. So I'm going to do 5 shades at a time, and I'm going to talk about each shade and their finish as I swatch them. So here are the first 5. And we're going from left to right. So the first one is called Lime Chrome, and that is a duochrome shade. So you're gonna see that there's like a slight pink and a slight green shift to this gold base color. It's very beautiful. The next shade we have here is called Python, and this is what NATASHA DENONA calls a cream to powder formula, and this has a matte finish. So this is that really deep, beautiful blue that you see in the palette. It's just gorgeous. The next shade is called Sparks, and this is a chroma crystal shade. So this is one that's a little bit sheer. It's sort of like a top coat. It's very, very glittery. It's very crystally, but it's nice that you can kind of pat it on top of another shade and still see that bottom shade shine through. And then the next shade is called Aria. This is a creamy matte shade. This is the lightest matte shade in the palette. So this is the one that I have been using a lot in my crease area to kind of add a little bit of dimension. And then the last one in this row is called Kava, and this is another chroma crystal shade, just like the Spark shade. So it's very glittery. It's supposed to be a little bit sheer. It's supposed to allow the color underneath to kind of shine through. So it's a nice top coat. And now let's talk about the second row. So this first shade in the second row is called Aurora. And this is a crystallized creamy powder formula. This is similar to her other cream to powder formulas, but there's little bits of crystals in there, and that gives it that really pretty kind of micro glittery glint to this shade. It's very, very pretty. The next shade is Dijon, and this is another creamy matte shade. This is a beautiful warm tone mustardy kind of color, really beautiful in the crease. And then this shade Oro is a metallic shade, and this shade is absolutely stunning. It is like 24 karat gold. It looks like gold foil on the lids. You can see that in the swatch here. It's really stunning. This next shade called Log is a very deep dark brown, and this is a shade that actually appeared also in her Sunset palette. So this is the one repeat shade that she has in this palette. In the Sunset palette, it was called Ignis, I believe. Here it's called Log, and it's just a really deep, rich, dark, matte brown color. And the last shade in this row is called Varus, and this is a metallic brown, bronzy kind of shade. Now moving down to the last row down here, we'll start with the shade Brass, and this is a metallic shade. This is one of those kind of chunkier Natasha Denona shadows that tends to have a little bit of fallout, that works a little bit better with your finger if you pat it on. It's one of those really exciting looking shades, but is a little bit fussy, I find a little bit fussy to work with. And then next to that is Sandstone, which is a creamy matte. And then next to that is Alchemist, which is another metallic shade, just like Brass. It has that same kind of chunkiness to it, works better with your finger. And then next to that is Teak, which is another creamy matte. And this last shade is called Aurum, and this is also another cream to powder formula. This is another beautiful warm tone gold, not quite as yellow as Oro, as you can see. And just an FYI, all of these cream to powder shadows, so the Python, the Aurora, and this Aurum color, this cream to powder formula was the formula that Natasha Denona introduced during the holiday season last year. So the biggest criticism I heard about this palette is, why would anyone ever need so many gold shadows? I personally love gold. I don't think you could have enough gold shadows, but I do understand that it is not sort of a color that you would throw onto your eyelids every day or going to work or even going to school. I mean, maybe. I'm not passing judgment. I'm just saying it's not a very kind of like neutral, everyday, subdued kind of look. But I will say that the golds in here are very, very different. If you are a fan of gold, there's enough nuance between them that I think it makes this palette worth it. I think it's really, really beautiful. I love all the different formulas in here. Again, it's very reminiscent to me of the Sunset palette and of Leela. I think it's just really beautiful. And you have some gorgeous, gorgeous mattes in here that allow for a nice neutral eye look, which is what I'm going to be doing for you. And I think Natasha Denona releasing this palette for holidays is so smart. You know, gold, anything shiny, anything crystally, it's perfect for the holidays. It's like you just want to amp up your look if you're going to a holiday party. We all go to a ton of different holiday parties, whether with your family or at work or whatever the case may be, your friends, or you're just going out, probably traveling a little bit more during the holidays. So I just think the timing is really, really great for this. And this palette has 15 shades. So you can get a complete look. You can get many different complete looks with this one palette. But this is also a great palette to pair with anything else. If you just want to go ahead and amp up any other look, like I look at this and I think, I could use my Melt Gemini palette. I could put down like a nice kind of fun green look with a lot of those mustards in there, and then throw one of these top coats in there, add a little bit of this oro, this gold to it, just right into the middle of my lid. Like, I just think this can work with so many other different palettes just to amp it up. If you have like an all matte palette, or if you have a very neutral looking palette, I just think this would be great. So I'm going to stop rambling and I'm going to just start applying my makeup. I'm going to do like a full, I don't want to say full beat because I don't even know if I can do a full beat, but I'm going to try and attempt as full of a beat as possible. Does that make sense? Is that grammatically correct? As full of a beat as possible. So when I look at gold eyeshadow, for some reason, I think immediately of bright, bold red lips. And I think that is the perfect sort of holiday party look. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to start with something that is not available for sale anymore, so I apologize. But this is the Victoria Beckham Estee Lauder Morning Aura Illuminating Cream. And I have not used this in a while, mainly because you guys can't get it. But when I want my skin to have a certain kind of glow to it, this is the primer that I use. It's just really beautiful. And I hope they bring it, they being Estee Lauder, I hope they bring it back permanently as part of their line, because it is really just stunning. It's just beautiful. And then I'm just going to amp it up a little bit with the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. I'm just going to put this on the high points of my face and blend this in just with my fingers. Now that I have a nice glowy base down, I'm going to apply my foundation. I'm going to be using the La Mer Soft Fluid Longwear Foundation in the color Neutral 22. And I'm going to use my Sonia G Base 1 brush to work this into the skin. By the way, many of you have been asking me to review the new La Mer Cushion Foundation. I ordered that foundation and it was supposed to arrive today, but then I just got a notification saying there was a delay in my shipment and that I won't be getting it until who knows when. But I believe it's in one of my local stores here, so what I think I may do is just run to the store, get it, and then return the one that I ordered unopened because I can't wait. Next, I'm going to go ahead and apply concealer. I have the Clé de Peau Stick Concealer in the shade Ivory, and I'm just going to swipe that right underneath my eyes and a bit on my eyelid. And then I'm going to use my Trish McAvoy Deluxe Blender brush, number 55, to work the concealer in. I'm just going to add a little bit around my nose to camouflage the red a little bit further. I'm going to use some of my Chantecaille loose powder because this powder has a little bit of radiance in there and I want to kind of keep that glow going. And I'm just going to sweep this all over. Next, I'm going to go ahead and contour. I'm going to use the Natasha Denona Sculpt and Glow palette. I'm going to go into the Sculpt powder here, and I have my Sonia G Sculpt 1 brush. Okay, normally I would apply some blush, but usually if I'm going to be doing like a really bright, bold lip, I hold off on the blush to kind of get a sense of like what tone I want to use. So anyway, I'm going to skip the blush stage for the moment, and I'm going to use a little bit of highlighter. So I have my Natasha Denona Super Glow powders here. I'm going to use the light medium 02, and I'm going to use my Sonia G Sculpt 3 brush. Apply this to the tops of my cheekbones. I like this kind of wet, glossy look it gives. Since we are going to be doing a gold eye look, I thought maybe the Bronze Super Glow powder from Natasha Denona could be appropriate. I'm just going to put a little bit on, just on top of where I already placed some of this highlighter. So now for the eyes. I'm going to apply some of the NARS Tinted Smudge Proof Eyeshadow Base. I have it in the color Light. And I just talked about this in my NARS New Eyeshadows video, and I really like this, and I always seem to put too much on. All right, so like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I'm gonna be sticking with the more brown kind of neutral shades over here, and Natalie from Flower Bomb 31 is gonna be kind of dealing with the more blue, colorful colors in this palette. So I'm gonna start with my Tom Ford blending brush, and I'm gonna go into this shade right here called Aria. This is a creamy matte formula, and I'm just gonna start by laying this down to just, you know, throw it onto my outer corner and the crease area, just to start with a little bit of dimension here. And then I'm going to take the same brush and I'm going to go into Log, which is the dark brown matte shade. And I'm just going to deepen up the outer corner of my eyes. I really like building up Natasha Denona shadows really slowly. I find if I go in with way too much pigment and then just try and blend it out from there, it doesn't really work out that well. I feel like you have to use really light layers, especially with the darker colors. So that's what I'm doing. Next, I'm going to take my Sonia G Builder 2 brush and I'm going to go into this Aurum shade in the bottom right-hand corner. And I'm just going to pat this on the inner portion of my lid towards the center. Look how pretty that gold metallic shade is. Then I'm going to take a flat shader brush. This is my Shikohoro GSN 9 brush, and I'm going to go into this Varus metallic shade here. And I'm going to place this right where the gold and the matte brown meet to kind of help blend that together. I'm going to go back into this Aria shade. That's the first matte shade that I used with my blender brush. And I am going to just make sure everything is blended out really nicely here. And then next I'm going to take my Sonia G Pencil 1 brush. I'm going to go into Log, which is that dark matte brown shade, and I'm going to line my lower lash line. Then I'm going to take a different pencil brush just because I need a clean one. And then I'm going to go back into the Aurum color, which is the gold color I used. And I'm going to just line the center portion of my lower lash line, just right underneath the matte brown that I put down. So I am done with the eyeshadow palette now. So now I'm going to apply some eyeliner. I have the Pat McGrath eyeliner in Black Coffee here. I'm going to go ahead and tightline, waterline, and add a little bit to my upper lash line, probably just on the outer portion of my lid. So next I'm going to take my black Surratt liquid liner and I'm just going to line my upper lash line and kind of do a wing. We'll see what happens. All right, eyeliner is done. So next I'm going to go ahead and curl my lashes and put on some mascara. All right, so it's time for eyebrows. I've got my Charlotte Tilbury Brow Lift Pencil in Supermodel, and I'm just going to fill in my brows a bit here. They're very sparse in the center here, and then fill them in. I have super long eyebrows, but they're super sparse. And because they're long, they're pretty unruly too. So I'm also going to use the Tom Ford Fiber Brow Gel after this. All right, so finally we are on to the lips. And I'm going to use the Pat McGrath Luxe Trans Lipstick in Major Red. And I'm going to line my lips with her lip liner in Major. And for once, I'm going to go ahead and use a lip brush with this red lipstick. I always start to apply it straight from the bullet and I think, oh, I should have used a lip brush. So finally, I remembered the lip brush before actually applying. So I'm going to take my Chanel lip brush and I'm going to swipe it right over the bullet. All right, I can't leave well enough alone, so I'm going to apply some gold lip gloss on top of the lipstick, and this is Pat McGrath's Blitz Gold. I'm going to swipe some onto the back of my hand here and apply it from there. All right, and since this is meant to be like a holiday party look, I'm going to finish off with a finishing spray. This is the Skindinavia Makeup Finishing Spray. This is Oil Control. I find this to be amazing, absolutely amazing. So that is it for my look. And just to wrap up this video, I really enjoy this Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette. I find the formula to be amazing. And like I said, I find it to be really much in line with the Sunset and the Lila palette, between the array of different formulas that this has, the way these shadows behave and the way they blend. They're just really, really beautiful. So I'm loving this palette. I love the idea of this palette. I'm so happy she came out with this, especially for the holiday season, and I'm enjoying it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you have any questions down below. Do not forget to check out Natalie at Flowerbomb31. I will leave a link to her channel and her video in my description box. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and I'll see you in my next video. Oh, I forgot to put on my earrings.